Hi guys, today we're in front of 24 Sandford Road, Fair Lawn, New Jersey. And this is the house where one of our country's most heinous homicides took place 41 years ago. I moved into that house shortly after I was released from Greenhaven Prison in 1975. By that time, I was already a registered confidential informant with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office in Manhattan, New York City. I had befriended a guy when I was in Greenhaven by the name of Brian Malise. When I got out, he introduced me to his wife, Alice Malise. Brian Malise had movie star looks. Could have been a male model, could have been an actor. He had movie star looks, and Alice was 5'9", 240 pounds, and not a well-kept woman. But she had a great heart, and she was a wonderful human being. At the time, I was living in the Bronx, and of course, Alice was living in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. Once I got to know Alice, I also got to know a woman by the name of Elizabeth Eschert and her 4-year-old son, Bobby Eschert. And they lived with Alice to make ends meet. And then Brian asked me to go move in because Alice couldn't take care of it. The lawn was overgrown. The town of Fair Lawn was getting on her about that. Paint was peeling off the exterior. I moved into 24 Sandford Road somewhere in, I guess it was early 1976. There was definitely sexual tension between me and Beth. I was 21 years old at the time. She was 29. I wound up moving in, started a relationship with Beth and Bobby. Brian Malise, at best in this situation, was a bisexual. He was more of a homosexual than a heterosexual. He married his wife for the money so that she would take care of him in prison and so on. Sometime in 1977, I would guess it would be, Brian Malise gets out of jail with another inmate named Ronald Schofield. They come home. I'm upstairs in bed with Beth. Little Bobby's in his little room, and Alice was in the master bedroom upstairs. I heard them come in. They were drunk. They were, I don't know how you could say it, together. Alice comes out of her room, and we could hear the squeaking staircase, and she walks down the staircases and finds them both on a Castro convertible bed, in bed together. She asked him, honey, aren't you coming to bed? And I don't think they ever consummated their marriage. And they were both drunk, and he said, no, and she's on the stairs, and he attacks her, and he starts beating the crap out of her. I'm in the bedroom upstairs with Beth. I come racing down, and I'm right behind Alice as she's being attacked by the front. I'm in the back of Alice. I pull him off, and I yell at Schofield, come and get him off or get her off. And he does, and he is in a homicidal rage. He was in such a rage. I've never seen a homicide take place before, but I'm guessing that's what somebody's face looks like when they're in a homicidal rage. I get Alice away. By this time, Beth had come down, and she takes her off to the room, and he's raging, and both of these guys are on parole. So I tell him, you better shut up. Let's get out of here. Let's go to a diner. I took the both of them out of there, at which point he solicited me to murder her. As he put it, she needs to be put out of her misery. That's what he said. Please help me do it. Blah, blah, blah. I'll get, I want her dead. So as a confidential informant in New York, not in New Jersey, I relay that information to the authorities. There's a report generated of it, and then I get back to the house, and I'm telling Beth, you got to get out of here. He's going to kill her. You just witnessed what happened. If you and I weren't there, he would have killed her. He was going to kill her. She was reluctant to leave. I said, listen, you're making a big mistake. If you kill somebody in this house and you and the baby is there, you're going to get killed. And I am not kidding when I predicted this 2 years before it actually happened. Get out. I have a job now. I'm working. I'll get an apartment. I got my dad will help us. My mom will help us. Let's get out of here. And she reluctantly agreed. When she got out, Alice contacted her friend whose husband had just died and didn't have any family. and offered her and her 5-year-old son, which is kind of do. It's kind of creepy. Beth was the same age as Marsha. Harold was the same age as Bobby, and they both moved in place of Bobby and Beth. 2 years later, we're living in New Jersey as a family. We turn on the TV, and there's a picture of 24 Sandford Road. Coroner's van is there. Don Johnson from ABC News, I'll never forget it, and said, there's a triple homicide in Fairlawn, New Jersey. And I looked at the house in the background, and it was 24. 3 people were dead, and they announced their names. And Beth and I looked, and we both cried. And Beth kept saying, if it wasn't for you, it would be me and my baby. And then we didn't know at that time how they were murdered. And then when we found out, it was so heinous that the EMT, first responders, were physically sick when they saw the crime scene. The crime was Alice Melise was babysitting for Harold, for her new roommate, Marsha. They were all murdered. Alice was murdered first. Then the little boy tried to run out the back door. Now, Alice was murdered with a 14-inch serrated kitchen knife. And he attacked her first, and the police put together that the little boy tried to run out the back door and was caught at the back door. His throat was slashed with such force that it decapitated him. And then he had to murder the mother of Harold, who wasn't home at the time. So he laid in wait for 3 hours. And we know it was 3 hours because when the last victim opened the door and met her fate, she had gone to a candy store and bought candy, and there was a sales receipt with the date and time on it. Then the murderer, who was Brian Melise, took a 14-inch serrated kitchen knife and sexually mutilated the bodies. The reason that Brian Melise murdered all these people, Brian Melise had his wife insured a life insurance policy for $100,000. If Alice got killed in public transportation or by way of homicide, the policy then increases threefold to $300,000. While he was taking out the insurance policy in his home with the insurance agent, he asked Marsha if she would like to get life insurance for herself and her son, and that he would pay for it because he's such a sport. He's such a nice guy. And she said, sure. So they began the application. The insurance agent began the application, was asking questions. And so Marsha's husband had recently passed away, and she was not on speaking terms with her father, her only next of kin. When it got to the part where who would be the executor, should Marsha die, who would be the executor of Harold's estate? And so she naturally named him. And if anything happened to Marsha and Harold, the beneficiary would then be Brian Melise. So that was the motivation, the motive for why he killed him. Walking through those doors again and seeing where the bodies were. Now, I didn't see the actual bodies. I didn't go to the crime scene, but I saw all the crime scene photographs. And had I not gotten Beth and Bobby out of there, instead of Marsha and Harold being murdered, it would have been Beth and Bobby. And I have to cut right now because I'm full, literally full of goosebumps.